Hi, welcome to Inside the Lines. I'm Lizzie Arbogast, sports editor at Tallapoosa Publishers, and I'm here with Ryan Gallagher. And we are officially in week 9 of the football season. Only 2 weeks of the regular season left, and a couple of our teams actually wrap it up this week.
Yep, Reeltown does, and who else does this week?
Dadeville is also.
Dadeville's got their last week, yep.
Season finale. So we are going to kick it off with Reeltown headed to Ranburne. It's our game of the week. This should be a really, really good test for Reeltown. Undefeated currently, going for 10-0. Would be their first undefeated season since 1991. But Ranburne is a good team. They're 7-1 right now. They are coming off their only loss this season, which was a 21-7 loss to Ohatchee, which is ranked just ahead of Reeltown. So I think it's going to be a really good test for the Rebels, which they need.
Right. Me and Coach Johnson were talking about it the last few weeks. He, when I covered the Thorsby game, he said that they've got to go into a better start because that was the game that it was 7-0 at halftime, and they just weren't getting rolling.
Right.
I covered the game last week, and they went off in the first quarter. And I talked to him after the game. He's like, "That's the start we have to get going to, especially playing it's good teams from here on out."
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And normally I don't like the bye week coming this late into the year, like they're getting a week 10 bye week. That's
right.
But for them going to the playoffs, it's perfect. But somebody like Dadeville, they could have who was beat up earlier in the year. They really could have used that early. Right. So I'm excited for Reeltown. The fans are excited for them. They've been getting their passing attack going a little bit. The timing's a little bit there. And Eric Shaw, he makes one really big play on offense every game. It's usually a touchdown, but on defense is where he makes his.
Absolutely.
But it's that defensive line that they have. They've got a good rotation going. Me and Coach talked about it after the game the other day. They got a good rotation going, and that's kind of even though they get the leadership from Shaw and Faison, on offense, the defensive line is where everything's made, and that lets those linebackers fly around on defense and make plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be a good test for that defensive line that you mentioned, just because Ranburne runs sort of something different than Reeltown has seen, and they have so many offensive weapons. I think they have 7 guys that have rushed for over 100 yards. Nobody's rushed for more than 500, but they have 2 guys at the 400 mark, and so they distribute the ball extremely, extremely well. So Reeltown's going to need to be really disciplined, but I think anytime you can get, because this region is not great, to put it nicely, anytime you can get really good competition before your bye week and going into the playoffs, I think is a good thing, win or lose, for Reeltown. It kind of really shows where they stand among some of the elite in Class 2A.
Right. This is going to be Reeltown's biggest test too. Ranburne, I think they've shut out several teams as well. They've shut out most of the teams they've played this year. So it's going to be a test on defense, and this is what Coach was saying earlier on in the year. He was saying they got to find the timing on offense. They can't be doing those scrambling around plays with hooks. Right. He's got to be more efficient. He's hitting it at the right time. He's hitting his passing game right when they need it.
He said they passed the ball 17 times, which I know you haven't been around Reeltown football for very long, but that's 2 times as many times I've ever seen them pass the ball.
That's twice as much as anybody really passes nowadays.
So that was good to see them have some balance. So I think this is going to be a really good game. It is on the road, which makes it a little bit more challenging for Reeltown. But all their biggest games have been on the road this year.
You also said how Ranburne has the rushing attack they have. Don't forget that Reeltown still has it too, with Scooter Brooks and Trey Hewley and Cameron Faison. And Faison is just the heartbeat of that offense. They go where he goes. His threat of the outside zone opens up everything else for everybody else. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. Also in action this week, Dadeville is headed to Prattville Christian for their season finale. The biggest thing I think for the Tigers is they need to focus on getting the win. They won last week, which was a big win. It was exciting for the fan base and for the team. If you can get another win going into the off season, especially with such a young team, I think that really builds some confidence going into the beginning of the off season and then into spring ball.
That's exactly what me and Coach White talked about after the Pike Road game the week before last, and he said that he wants to send this because it is such a huge group of young guys. He's only got a handful of upperclassmen on this team. He wants to send them out as winners because it has been a disappointing year because of injury, because things have just kind of gone off the rails from the expectations of week 2. They almost beat Reeltown. And now Reeltown's gone undefeated, and they've won 2-3 games the year Dadeville has. And so it's just been a disappointment of the year, and he just wants to make them feel better and feel like winners and send them out the way they deserve because they've worked hard this year. They really have.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Prattville Christian it's a winless team at this point. I think this is definitely a team that the Tigers can exploit if they do what they're supposed to do. if they, run their offense like they have been. They've been really two-dimensional. Even in games when they've lost, they've, passed, done a good combination of passing and rushing the football. I think that's going to be important for them against Prattville.
It's just what kind of Lane Smith are they going to get? The run game is going to be there for them. It's just like last week, Lane was the player of the week.
Yeah.
But the week before that at Pike Road, I think he threw 2 or 3 interceptions. So it's which one are they? But they also did get
different
down.
Different team too.
Right. They also did get down early, so they weren't able to run. They were having to put the ball in his hands and throw the ball a lot. But he has been inconsistent throughout the year. But when he's on, he's on.
Yeah, absolutely. The last 2 games on the schedule are going to be a little tougher for both of our teams. Horseshoe Bend hosts Lafayette. Central Coosa headed to Thorsby. Both of those teams are playoff teams versus Horseshoe Bend and Coosa, who are not playoff bound. So I think for both of these teams, when you're staring down, Coosa for sure is staring down a loss. No offense to the Cougars, but we know how that story ends. As for the Generals, they could pull an upset. Lafayette has been beat, but I think the likelihood of that is slim.
Right. Thorsby gave Reeltown all they could handle, and Reeltown's the best team that we cover in the area. And so Thorsby is a big physical team, so Coosa really is going to have their hands full.
Yeah.
As far as Horseshoe Bend, they've been getting... we've seen improvement for them, even though it's not showing up on the wins.
Week.
It's not showing up on the wins and losses, but they are an improved team, and they are getting better. And they're just another young football team in the area. A lot of these teams are young, and Horseshoe Bend, they just got to stick to what they're doing, running the football, passing it when they can. Again, we'd like to see them pass it more, but it is what it is, and I'm excited for the future. Then Coach Phillips has got that program in good hands.
I agree. And I think the big thing for them is to just remain competitive against Lafayette. This could be a game that could get out of hand. Could be a game that could get out of hand early, or if Horseshoe Bend plays the way that we know they're capable of, that Coach Phillips knows they're capable of, it could remain close and not get into a blowout sort of standpoint. And I think that's what Horseshoe Bend is hopeful for. Lafayette's just so big and so fast. Really, their speed is what makes them go. But also, when I talked to Coach Phillips this morning, he said speed can also hurt you, because if you overcommit to something and then you're just running at the wrong place really fast, so that's what they're going to try to do, is kind of move the ball around, do some distraction type of things, and hopefully that will be give some success to the Generals.
They got to limit the big play. That's been the thing for them all year, is limiting the big play on defense. So they do that. They limit the big play, and they do some ball control, because all year it's been they get their opponents in the third down, and then they just give up a big chunk on third down. You keep your opponent, you keep the ball away from them with the time of possession, and then you're able to get them out on third down. You'll be able to keep this game close.
And on the flip side of that, they've got to finish their drives. They had a 19-play drive to start the game against Fayetteville last week and didn't score.
It's probably a fumble, or the way their offense is going all year. It was probably a fumble that killed the drive. That's just how it's been for the year. And that's just something that they've got to improve on this offseason, is those fumbles.
Absolutely. For sure. But it is one of those things where these teams are starting to look towards the future. It's hard. You don't want to overlook anybody. You still want to win, but you also have to figure out what's the best strategy to make yourself be better in the future, because, obviously playoffs are out of contention for everyone in the area except for Reeltown. So. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll be back for one more week. I can't believe it's hard to believe it's basketball season already. But thanks y'all for watching as always, and we will see y'all on Friday night.